Hello and welcome back to Cooking Live. I am so excited about today's video because I know that getting dinner on the table and then getting it all eaten and then all cleaned up is a real struggle for a lot of people on weeknights. So I have a recipe for you today that goes from stuff in the fridge to the oven to your plates and all cleaned up in about an hour. So I'm really excited to share with you our pork, potatoes, and green beans sheet pan dinner. You may have heard about these before if you're on if you're on Pinterest, you may have seen a lot of pins about sheet pan dinners. What they are is they are a one pot wonder. The only cooking vessel you need is right here. It's a sheet pan, and that makes cleanup a snap. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what you need to think about when you are making a one pan wonder sheet pan meal. If everything's going into the oven at the same time, you want things to cook at about the same rate. That means we are going to be using smaller potatoes. These are Klondike Gourmet. I've never seen this particular brand before. Sometimes they get marketed as gem potatoes or heirloom potatoes. There's lots of different names for them, but the important part is that they're small. They are also called fingerling potatoes because, as you can see, they're about the size and shape of a finger. So we are gonna base all of our cooking times off of the potato because it's the piece that takes the longest to cook. That's why I wanted the small ones. To make this meal, I am just going to slice them in half, and I want to arrange my potatoes along the outsides of my sheet pan. They're gonna take the longest to cook, so I want them on the edges of my pan so that they get the most access to the heated air that's inside my oven. Okay, I'm just cooking up a sample here. I'm just showing you how to build the pan right here in front of you. If you want to make the full-size recipe, you would need a pound of potatoes. That's a lot more potatoes than these. We're just gonna go ahead and finish up what we got. Nothing too hard. We're just slicing them in half. Cut sides down because that's going to give us nice brown crispy edges on potatoes, which are my favorite parts of the potato. No one wants a soggy potato. We want crisp. Okay. Our other vegetable here are fresh green beans, also called string beans. You want to make sure you are choosing ones that are nice dark green and smooth. We don't want wrinkly green beans. And we're just going to come along and snap off the ends. Sometimes they're called snap beans too. Oops. You can also use your handy dandy kitchen scissors. This is the most underrated tool in my entire kitchen. I have them on a hook right here. I literally use these things every single day. They are just so easy to use. And if you have a kid that can use scissors, then you have a kid who can help you snap the ends off green beans. So it's a tool that they may be more familiar with. So if you're a little bit nervous about letting your kids around your knives, if you have a pair of kitchen scissors, that might be a little bit better tool for them. They are sharper than your safety Fisker scissors, so do be aware of that, okay? My green beans, I'm going to arrange in the middle of my pan. It would be really easy to get these to burn before my potatoes are done, and I don't want that. So we're gonna put them in the middle of the pan and protect them a little bit from the heat. And then I'm actually gonna cook my meat on top of the green beans so that the green beans kind of steam in the meat juices and get that nice meaty flavor there. Okay, we are all about less mess today. So we're just gonna take our olive oil, and if this was a full pan, I'd just drizzle it right on top of my vegetables. Come over here, got my handy dandy salt cellar, just a little sprinkle of salt there. Crack some fresh pepper on it, and we are good to go. The last piece of my meal is my pork chop. All right, you'll notice that I got the thicker sliced pork chops here. They are not the thin sliced ones. The thin sliced pork chops would get dried out and turn into a bit of something that looks like shoe leather by the time your potatoes and green beans were done, and we don't want that. So I want the thicker loin cut pork chops. The recipe that I'm basing today's Cooking Live recipe off of actually called for pork tenderloin. The reason I'm choosing to use pork chops instead is because they were about half the cost. I bought a pound of pork chops, which was 4 of this size, for $4. And I went over and I looked, and the 1 pound pork tenderloins were on sale for $7.99. So I made an executive decision to change the recipe because it's coming from the same general cut of pork, but it's just a lot cheaper. And that's something that you can think about whenever you're grocery shopping. If something calls for tenderloin, you may look for a leaner steak. This goes for pork as well as beef. You may look for a leaner steak cut or chop cut and save yourself some money. So just look around the meat counter, all right? What we are flavoring this with is hoisin sauce, okay? This is an ingredient that is available in the Asian food aisle at most grocery stores. It's a very typical ingredient. It's used as a dipping sauce, but also as a cooking sauce flavoring. It smells kind of like soy sauce, all right? And it also has a bit of Chinese 5-spice powder in it. So it is a very spicy sauce. It is a complex flavor. It's gonna add a lot of interest to our pork chops. I'm just gonna take a little bit here, pop some on there, use my handy dandy basting brush to cover my pork chop well. If you did not have a basting brush, you could use the back of a spoon. This just gives us a little bit more uniform coverage there. I'm gonna put that on top of my green beans, finish it up with the rest of my sauce, and then, lickety-split, I'm gonna put it into a preheated 450-degree oven, all right? So hide that in there. Those pork chops are gonna cook so fast. Set the timer for 15 minutes and look at them. They may need 20, but it's better to check before they get too done than after they are already tough and dry. After 20 minutes, we're gonna come and actually take the pork chops off the green beans, put them on your serving dish, and let them just kind of hang out under a piece of aluminum foil, all right? So I'm gonna bring this here and show you what I got. All right, 20 minutes later, I took the pork chops off, but the pan looks like this, okay? You can see I got everything nice and brown. My potatoes have some dark, crispy edges. My green beans have blistered a little bit, which is delicious. And we are not done yet. Oh no, we are not done. We have one more thing. Since the hoisin sauce is kind of a heavy flavor, I don't want to say it's overpowering because we just brushed a little light coating on it, and it's got a little bit of sugar in it, so it's kind of started to caramelize on here. It's really made the meat beautiful. I hope you can see it there in the camera. It's nice and it's caramelized. It smells really good, but it's just kind of a heavy, spicy type flavor. And I don't mean spicy hot, I mean spicy like lots of spices. And so we're gonna do one last thing to just kind of brighten the whole recipe up. We're gonna make a little bit of chive butter, okay? This is what makes restaurant food taste like restaurant food, and home-cooked food taste like home-cooked food. Home cooks very rarely do the extra step of putting a little bit of herb butter on their steaks. For our purposes here, since the hoisin sauce has got an Asian flavor to it, we're gonna go with something like chives, right? These are fresh chives. They're also available at most grocery stores, okay? I wanna mince up some. The flavor I'm gonna get from chives is a little bit like a green onion, okay? And so green onions or scallions are often in a lot of Asian stir fries together. So the flavor of the hoisin sauce and the chives are just gonna pair really well, okay? There we go. I got about a tablespoon of minced chives there. I'm adding it to 2 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm gonna add just a touch of garlic powder. That's about a 1/4 teaspoon or so. If you're using garlic powder instead of garlic, fresh garlic that's been minced, 1 clove of fresh garlic is about a 1/4 teaspoon of the garlic powder. I'm gonna grab a different spoon here. There we go. Okay. Soften that butter ahead of time so it mashes up nice and quick. While you're waiting for your vegetables to finish cooking, you can put this together. Okay. I am using regular butter. I'm only gonna put about a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons on each chop here. Because my pork is very lean, I'm not worried about overdoing it on the fat content. And because I'm only putting about a teaspoon on each chop, I'm not too worried about overdoing it on the saturated fat. The only other fat in this whole entire dish was olive oil, and it was just a drizzle. And so all in all, this is a pretty low fat meal. And so I have a little bit of space to add my extra butter. All right, so we're gonna put just a touch there. Okay, you can see the nice bright green of that kind of starting to complement the cooked pork texture or color. It's starting to melt, get a little shiny. Oh, and it already changed the smell. I can smell the chives on here, which is really going well with the Chinese 5-spice flavor. Looks good enough to eat. All right, there you go. It's a complete meal made in about 45 minutes once you get all the meat and the vegetables cooked together. But you have your non-starchy veggie, you got your green beans, you have your starchy vegetable, we got our potatoes, and you have our nice lean meat, our pork chop here. I'm gonna grab a tongs. Should have had that keyed up. All right, I'm just gonna plate that. Get a nice hefty portion of some green beans there. If you have extra garlic chive butter, you could toss them on the green beans. There looks to be enough of the olive oil and stuff there. All right, but you know what? I just love butter on potatoes, so let's just put a little more on that plate, okay? You can tell I'm not a real cook using my fingers. There we go. Ah, there you have it. It's a complete meal, and cleanup's gonna be a snap. I got a cutting board and a sheet pan to clean. Until next time cooking live, I look forward to seeing you, and let's do lunch.